Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to today's webinar, Unbreak the Customer Experience, Dynamics AX to CRM Integration. My name is Glenn Johnson. I'm a Senior Vice President here at Magic Software Enterprises, and I'm joined today by Ted Brennan. Ted is a Senior Consultant at Magic Software Americas as well. Ted, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Glenn.
Absolutely, and with apologies to music fans like Ted, we sort of named our webinar today after the song Unbreak My Heart. And so we're calling today's webinar Unbreak the Customer Experience. I don't think Ted is going to sing for us. Later on he will be doing a demo, however, of Dynamic AX to CRM integration. But you never know with Ted. He actually is a musician, so he probably could sing if he wanted to, right, Ted?
Absolutely. I'll spare everybody those details.
Thank you. Well, you know, Tony Braxton had this song, Unbreak My Heart, and it just, as I was thinking about the customer experience and so many people talking about broken customer experiences, this song just kept going over and over in my head for whatever reason. So that's why we named the webinar as we did today. We hope you appreciate the lighthearted manner in which we did so. You know, the song says things like, you know, we're left in all this pain and we've been left out in the rain and all that. And I think sometimes customers feel that way. You know, sometimes our business processes get so broken down that we become disconnected and businesses become more like bureaucracies than organizations designed to bring customer satisfaction and great products and solutions for their customers. So hopefully that doesn't totally describe your business, but there are times when all of us can have systems in place, especially software systems that have been around for a while that maybe are designed to do things in a certain way that can tend to make us a little less customer friendly and responsive than we want to be. And so there are always areas to improve, always areas to improve that customer journey, enhance that customer experience, and we're going to talk about ways that you can do that if you're a company that is running Dynamics AX. Microsoft Dynamics AX is a solution that's been very popular in the marketplace for mid-sized, smaller companies, and especially those that have been involved in different aspects of manufacturing, for example, but really in a variety of industries. And so we want to look at how you can better integrate those back-end business processes that are all around the financial accounting and supply chain aspects of your business and order processing and all of that, and really connect it with the more of a front-end facing system, the CRM system in your organization. So we're going to look at that in today's webinar. You know, Dynamics ERP can be integrated to a variety of different systems. We'll talk about how. And of course, we need to first of all kind of clarify a few things. Microsoft Dynamics ERP, you know, it stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. It includes, of course, financial accounting. You know, classic, you know, accounts receivable, accounts payable, general ledger, inventory management, and so on. But it also includes these enterprise resource planning characteristics that make it an important piece in the Microsoft Dynamics brand. But there are other pieces of Microsoft Dynamics ERP software even that have been acquired by Microsoft or they're currently offered still today. So we don't want to confuse with those other environments. So let's maybe just spend a moment contrasting or comparing them in a way that maybe will help you to differentiate them not only in terms of their characteristics but also in terms of the way that we would integrate them into other aspects of your IT environment. So Microsoft Dynamics includes Microsoft Dynamics Nav, GP, which was Great Plains, and AX. We could even talk about you know, Microsoft Dynamics SL, but we're going to just focus on these three for comparison purposes. There's various versions that have come out over the years. Price ranges can vary considerably between the different members of the Microsoft Dynamics ERP brand, and the appropriate number of users is going to vary as well. So Microsoft Dynamics AX spans a very wide range of company sizes or number of users, and so it can range from 5 up to about 1,000 employees or users would be typical on such systems. So that can be a fairly large company. These are also oriented towards multinational implementations. The architecture of these systems varies. They're all .NET based in one way or another. Both Great Plains and Dynamics AX tend to be more service-oriented, architecture-oriented. The database is MS SQL Server in all cases, but you can also use it with an Oracle database, an IBM DB2 database in the case of Great Plains, but certainly in the case of AX with their Oracle database as well. Now, server environments are typically going to be Windows, and the application is available in a SaaS or cloud version as well as an on-premise installation. The integration issues that we'll be talking about today will allow you to basically integrate either cloud or on-premise, and we do a lot of cloud-to-cloud integration, a lot of cloud-to-ground or on-premise integration, and a lot of on-premise to on-premise integration at Magic Software. Now, the API methodology for the three platforms varies. With Navision, they have a SOAP Web Services interface, which is a little bit of an older style. With Great Plains, you have a COM API, you have SOAP Web Services, and with Dynamics AX, you have quite a bit of variety of .NET. You have older COM technologies, MSMQ, direct-to-database, XML, and SOAP. Now, the way that Magic allows you to work with that is in the case of Navision and Great Plains, we work directly with the web services or with Great Plains with COM. With Microsoft Dynamics AX, the Magic XPI integration platform takes it a step further and provides a native adapter to Microsoft Dynamics AX, which simply makes it easier to build your integration flows, that you can save a little time doing that. But you can also, for the sake of doing very specific things, choose to use the .NET, COM, MSMQ, XML, web services approaches for integration as well. If, for example, you already had some rather elaborate business logic attached to one of those integration methods and that was already in place, then you might want to go ahead and use that method rather than using the native adapter. But if you're starting from scratch and you're building a new business process integration flow, chances are you'd use that native adapter with Microsoft Dynamics AX. And Ted will be showing us a little bit about some of that in the demonstration. So when you're using Dynamics, ERP, and CRM, there's a number of business processes that it makes sense for you to address with an integration platform like the Magic XPI integration platform. The APIs are going to allow you to do both real-time and asynchronous business processes. What do we mean by that? What we mean by that is really that you're able to do an interaction while the user is waiting for a response. We would call that real-time or near real-time. Sometimes it's actually hidden to the user and they don't understand that there's a series of asynchronous processes happening very quickly in the background. That's a detail, of course, that your business analyst works out as they design the process flow, but it could be a synchronous process. More than likely, it's going to be a series of short asynchronous processes that appear to be real-time to the user. And then, in addition, you can have the non-real-time processes, the long-running processes. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, sometimes you're waiting for an approval, for example. You have a purchase order. It's above a threshold amount, and you want to get an approval back before this flow continues, and you pick up the rest of the business process integration challenge, whether that be directly to your CRM system or to another enterprise system that you may have installed in your environment. So what are some of these common processes specifically between ERP and CRM? Well, I think the gold standard is the opportunity to order conversion. In other words, when you close an opportunity in CRM and the salesman says, yippee, yeah, I've got an order. Well, how does that actually become an order in the ERP system? Because that's where invoices are issued, right? The CRM systems don't do that. So you need to convert that opportunity, that closed opportunity, into an actual order, and that's one of the most common business processes that companies implement when they're doing this kind of integration. However, in order to do that, there are a number of other processes that may be very important as well. For example, address book synchronization. This is the classic. In order to be able to take that new customer information from CRM and into ERP, you probably have to import that in. Or if you need to pull information from the ERP to update CRM records, maybe the accountant has found, for example, that there's a new bill to address and you want that reflected in the CRM system, you can do that as well. So you can create automatic flows that will detect or be triggered by that new information and bring it back over. Another example that would be very common would be product information, your product catalog, item numbers, all the master data integration related to products, including, of course, pricing information, which is very relevant in both ERP and CRM systems, of course. When you really want to start enhancing and making systems even more optimal, you can look at things like inventory visibility. When your salesperson is in CRM and they're selling, maybe they need to have visibility into available inventory. What can I actually sell my customer at this moment because I know it's on the shelf in our warehouse and ready to be shipped, versus it's only theoretically in our product catalog, but I don't actually have it available to sell at the moment. So inventory visibility, which is the system of record for that, is typically going to be your ERP system. It knows where the inventory is in your various warehouses. The CRM system does not unless you integrate the two. So this is another classic use case. Order tracking is another good use case. The ERP system is responsible for shipping and sending out those products. In other words, that it's going to trigger those processes, and you may have additional logistics systems sitting on the back end of the ERP system. But somehow that order tracking visibility needs to be made clear to the customer. And then there's also things like credit status. You don't want to try to sell, $1 million order to somebody that only has $250,000 in available credit. So just knowing credit status, which of course, again, the system of record is the ERP system, being able to see that in CRM would be another example of a very useful business process. So we're going to talk today about CRM integration. We're actually going to use SugarCRM as our demo for today. I think we had said in some of the advanced information that we were going to be looking at Salesforce.com, but Ted's actually been working on a really cool demo to show Dynamics AX and SugarCRM integration, so we're going to show that today. And so I'll just spend a little bit of time talking about that side of the integration equation as well before I hand it over to Ted. With Sugar, you can automate SugarREST methods, and these are RESTful APIs which are part of the SugarCRM web services that are available. So very similar to other kinds of APIs in other products, and the Magic XPI SugarCRM adapter handles the interfaces automatically. Ted will show you how some of that works. But underneath what is going on in that dialog box in Magic XPI is your visibility into a wide variety of methods in the CRM system, things like being able to get the available modules and the document revisions and entries and counts and so forth. So I'm not going to go into the details of all of these methods, but I just want to point out that these kinds of methods are all exposed and available to you as the business analyst in order to access the objects in the back-end CRM system just as they are in the ERP system. So because you can access both sides and do a data map in between them and all that exciting stuff, there's a lot to see here. So we do that with, of course, a solution that is known to the marketplace as the Magic XPI Integration Platform. So let's talk for a moment about that, and then we'll show it to you. the Magic XPI integration platform provides a comprehensive enterprise architecture which builds on a very strong, secure, and scalable server environment that uses in-memory computing that allows you to integrate cloud and on-premise applications and work in a synchronous or asynchronous manner. And then what you do with that server is that you orchestrate, you transform business processes, you route information, you push and pull transactions, you monitor your entire integration environment and the movement of data between applications, the triggering of processes, you manage that. You do that with a variety of both protocol and enterprise adapters. The enterprise adapters would be for known software applications, such as SugarCRM or such as Dynamics AX for Microsoft. The protocol adapters, however, give you an awful lot of strength as well. They would allow you to do things like integrate to MSMQ or integrate to .NET or integrate to Java or integrate to HTTP, or we could go on and on. There's hundreds of different methods for integration that are supported by the Magic XPI integration platform, so that no matter what you come across in your IT environment, unless it's a black box, which is literally designed not to be interfaced with, but if it's open architecture, then Magic XPI allows you to work with that API and that open architecture in order to have a very dynamic and productive way of designing business processes, monitoring them, triggering them, and working in an event-driven architecture or service-oriented architecture in order to accomplish your business objectives. Very powerful stuff. So this open, collaborative way of working helps you to achieve transparency, streamline your business processes, working with all the various applications, databases, and platforms. You're able to monitor and control those business processes on all of the layers of your applications, the data layer, the logic layer, the information layer. You're able to work with real-time and asynchronous processes, as we mentioned, and the result is this very smooth functioning, this customer experience that we've been talking about that is really highly enhanced and improved because everything becomes more responsive, everything becomes more complete. There are no data silos and hidden pieces of information and parts of your business that are refusing to work with the other simply because the software doesn't really allow that to happen. So the benefits of this is it's going to reduce operational costs, it's going to improve revenue performance, it's going to reduce business risk, and all of this is accomplished in a code-free manner. So you're clicking and dragging and working with dialog boxes. You're not writing line-by-line code or programming, which is very unproductive and frankly is not recommended by IT auditors. You can fail an IT audit if you have hard-coded integration in place. So these are very user-friendly tools, very scalable, very secure. We call the Magic XPI integration platform environment modules by a number of different names. We have a studio environment. The studio is where you build or design your integration processes. That's composed of a flow editor, a topology editor, and a business process editor. Within that flow editor, you have a data mapper. And then once you've designed those things, you can actually check them and debug them and make sure that the processes are working properly. And one of the key ways for doing that is using the Magic XPI monitor. So you use that in the design cycle as well as in the deployment cycle. And the Magic XPI monitor allows you to see a log of all of the steps in your process and all the attachments that you've asked to be attached, the various XML files that are being transferred back and forth, seamlessly in the background. Not that you have to be able to read or understand XML, the system does that for you, but it's good to be able to open that attachment as a proof point or to really diagnose things while you're in the design process. And then the dashboard view is going to summarize a lot of those processes for you as well. So a lot of monitoring capabilities, some new things as well that I don't know if we'll have time to get into today, but it's important to know that they're there. And then, as we said very powerfully, that sort of running in the background is the Magic XPI server. It's a multi-threaded architecture, in-memory data grid technology, which really means that you're highly scalable, you have high availability, and a very robust environment for conducting the integration in your business. So in addition to the Magic XPI integration platform, I should mention that Magic also offers an end-to-end, many-to-many mobile integration capability with a mobile app building system as well, known as the Magic XPA application platform. So you can actually build mobile apps, you can build web apps, you can build client-server apps even, with Magic's tools, but then have all of them integrated to these same back-end environments that we've been talking about using the Magic XPI integration platform. So it's a very nice complementary tool set that there's not an additional skill to learn in terms of the expressions and so forth. It's the same expressions that are used in both environments. So it's a very consistent, nice stack for you to use. So as we said, this in-memory data grid is really an important differentiator, not only in terms of scale, but also in terms of fault tolerance. So that redundancy is very powerful, so that if a process fails, it picks up in a parallel environment and gives you the capability to deal with a huge flood of integration data. You can think of it in your mind as a data grid. What you're doing is you're co-locating processing power with memory and essentially have almost like a grid of that information so that you have parallel processes for scalability and redundant processes for high availability. Very cool stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to Ted. I just want to say that for information on any of the things that we've talked about today, you can contact us at 949-250-1718. You can dial extension 259 and ask for Angela. She'll be happy to set up any follow-up conversations that you'd like to have, or you can shoot an email to info@magicsoftware.com, and that will also allow you to set up a meeting or appointment just by starting that dialogue by email. We'll be happy to do that as well. So at this point, I'm turning it over to Ted, who's going to share his desktop with us so that we can see the live demonstration. And Ted, I see it, so we're ready to go. Take it away.
Outstanding. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening to everyone, wherever you happen to be. As Glenn said, I'm Ted Brennan. I'm the sales engineer here, and I'm going to be talking about the XPI integration platform and how it integrates with Dynamics AX and other things. So here you have before you the XPI Development Studio. This is not something an end user would ever see. This is something that a developer would be. And to put it simply, this is where we build the relationships with the various applications we're working with. So over at the top and to the left, I have what we call flows. And it's where we grab data and build a flow from one environment to another. So we like to say XPI is an event-driven application. So we just need something to tell us what to do. So that event can be creating new records, such as accounts or contacts within your CRM application, or it could be, the event could be changing records. So maybe a contact changed a phone number, or one of your accounts moved, they changed addresses. So we can sync based on metadata moving or creating or deleting records. So here over to the right is my process flow. And as you can see, it reads from top down, right to left. Some are a little bit more elaborate than others. And it's made up of these things over here we call components. So these components not only come with the connectivity to these various applications we're working with, but they also come with the appropriate API calls and web services and protocols to integrate with these applications. So whether we're talking about Dynamics AX or Sugar or Salesforce or Dynamics CRM or anything else, all these applications we're talking about have protocols that have to be followed if you're going to go ahead and do an integration. At least come with those protocols already built in. So you can have the confidence knowing that we're integrating an application in the way that the application developers intended. So in the case where we don't have, now as you can see, we have some application-specific ones, like for JDE, for SAP, you can see the different logos there. But let's say we're hypothetically, or not hypothetically, it happens in real life, we have an opportunity to integrate with something we don't have a pre-built connector for. Well, that's perfectly okay because we have some more generic ones too. So we have things like HTTP web services, HTTP connectors where we can build and consume our own web services. We have a web services connector where we can point to if an application has the WSDL, we can point to a WSDL, and it'll populate all the methods and properties of that web service. And, we can read from a flat file. So the general idea behind XPI is we can take any application and we can integrate with any other application in a drag and drop code-free utility. Now I'm going to switch gears here for a little bit. I'm going to show you how this works in real life. So today, this particular integration here is integrating Dynamics AX with SugarCRM. This is a use case we see a lot, and I'll be passing new accounts from SugarCRM to Dynamics AX. So here's my Sugar environment. I'm logged into SugarCRM, and here is my I keep just switching back and forth here. This is my Dynamics AX environment, and these are my new customers. So the way this integration works is when I create a new account in SugarCRM, it's going to create a new customer here in Dynamics AX. So first, I'll go back to my Sugar environment, and I'm going to create a new account. I'm just going to put some test data in here. Okay, I'm just going to grab some. In the interest of time, this isn't real phone numbers, but this is just kind of like you see in the movies. It's going to be 555, 5555, and the street's going to be. Let's say. Again, I'm just putting this data in here. And so once this is done, everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and so you got a phone number and everything, and we're going to create this record. When I select Save, this is going to be an event to sync the data over. So I want to make it clear that that everyone out there understands in the XPI world, user acceptance really is not existent. We don't really have to train users to do anything that they otherwise would normally do. What was once in one environment is just kind of in another. They would just go enter accounts and records as they normally would. Okay, so there's nothing special you have to do in the Sugar environment or the AX environment, or users don't have to press special buttons. They just go about their normal business like they normally would. Okay, so when I refresh this, maybe getting some attenuation here in my environment. Okay, so a new record was created and it passed this over here. So when I go back and I refresh my screen, in CRM, I do refresh, should have a new record. And there we go, MPG music. Okay, so that wasn't there before. So that happened pretty close to real time, quite quick, and it happened, happened quite fast. And again, there's nothing special I had to do in either environment. Okay, so now I'm going to go back. And I'm going to show you how we build this solution and similar ones like it by going back into the studio. So going back in the studio, here's my process flow. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get new accounts. We see accounts that have been changed. Now, I don't want to go step by step through this, but like we say, it's an event-driven utility. And the event in this case was creating new accounts. So one thing I want to point out too is our connectors do what we call schema discovery. So if you're like most customers out there in your Sugar environment, in your AX environment, you probably don't have an out-of-the-box system. You've done a lot of custom processes. You may have done a lot of custom things out in custom fields. Well, the way our connectors work is that we do schema discovery back to that connector. So here, I'm doing a query against the account records, and I'm returning all the fields. And so every time I refresh this, it's going back to that instance of Sugar or AX or whatever it happens to mean. It's going to get everything in here. So for those of you who are familiar with Sugar and other CRMs, the certain things here are common to pretty much all CRM applications, contacts, currencies, and things like that. But if I scroll down, I can see some custom stuff that we put into ours. And see that way, it just kind of show you, this is related to an SAP integration we built for Sugar. So as you can see, I can get the custom ones as well. Okay. So I'm going to cancel out of that because I don't want to change it. This is a live system. And we return the fields. I'm returning all of them, and I'm setting them to an XML variable. Now that's typical about how we do a lot of our integrations. Rather than going directly from one application to another, we pass them to an intermediate variable for a number of different reasons. Most notably, so we can manipulate those variables. So, once we have it in a variable, we can validate the data. We can collect information from multiple sources. We can do outside lookups to other applications before we pass that on. And we designed this really, and I want to make it clear to everyone out there that we designed this really for your business process. So whatever your business process happens to be, we accommodate that. So, and we would never pass something onto another application until we had all the dependencies. Okay. So moving along, I got my new accounts. I passed it to my variables, and I'm going to show you where we do most of our work. And I'm going to go into this the flow where we create the new AX customer. So here, I go into my AX connector, and I will go into what we call our data mapper. So here is actually where we do most of our work. So here, I passed it to my variables, and now I'm going over to Dynamics AX. So here, this is my source and my destination. Now the source is the variables we just discussed, but it could also be another database, it could be another application, it could be a number of different things, and the same thing with my destination. Here I'm going to the Dynamics AX customer creation points here. So when I click on this mapping, I can show you how easy it is to pass this data and do most of this work. So when I go into here, you can see my source information here. Here's the information I'm passing from Sugar, and here's the pass I'm passing over to Dynamics AX. Okay, so to show you how easy it is to do this, I don't want to mess with this too much because this is a live system. I just right-click Connect and pass it accordingly. Now, you see some other information here too, and I want to show you what that's for. So we can also have the ability, like I said, not only to validate the data, but we can actually pass information as constants. So hypothetically speaking, and not hypothetically in real life, so when somebody is creating a record in one application, they may not know dependencies that may exist in another. So we can pass this along as constants when we build this integration. So here, so for creating a class, that in order to create a new customer in Dynamics AX, you have to create an entity. So I pass that along as a constant. So I've got some other constants and variables here. I passed along some credit card information. I passed along some constant information, so all customers may have a max credit of a specific amount, so we can pass that as well. But this also allows me to create some validations and do some dependencies on the data that I'm really passing. So in the case of state, I may have a number of different ways where I might want to manipulate this data. So if I go over to the state value, I'm not really changing anything here, but I'm just passing it to the state tax group. But I have a couple of different things I can do. I can create some conditions, so I can put some code in here that says, hey, if one of these two other values exist, go ahead and pass the value along. So it creates the conditions for passing these variables. If I click on f of x, I have a bunch of different functions I can apply to these variables to manipulate this data. So there's a number of different reasons we may want to do this. We may have a name variable that's coming from Sugar that we may have to pass into a first and last name, so we may want to break that out. We can break that down. Dates are good examples. Sometimes there's dates validations coming from other applications that are in a specific format, and we may need to change that. So if I highlight date and I hit F1, when anywhere in the XPI program, you can actually go and highlight it, and if you hit F1, it'll take you directly to that part of the help menu. So as you can see, you don't need to be a programmer to use these kinds of things, right? So I got my functions, I got my variables, so I can do a lot. I can say like upper. I can do some different things here to create some, make sure that it's always uppercase regardless of whether or not it's coming in as uppercase. So the concept behind XPI is that even though we say it's a code for utility, we give you a very powerful platform that allows you to apply coding principles to your data. Okay, so I'm going to click out out of this, I'm going to go to our monitoring utilities. So one real powerful part of our solution, and Glenn was talking about earlier, is that unlike a typical point-to-point integration, with our monitoring utility, you can actually monitor what's going on in the data sync. So, this is actually the only part an administrator would ever need to see. You can actually see what's going on in real time, what's going on with the data sync itself. So here are the various different applications, or I'm sorry, the various different projects I've connected to the server. And over at the top, here's the one I have running. That's why it's in green. And when I open this up, a bit of a continuation here, I can see everything going on with this integration. So here, we like to call this the good, the bad, and the ugly. So this is a very powerful tool that can let you know how much what's going on in your environment. Here's where I sync the accounts. Here's where I do the data, the different messages. So we can do application-specific error messages. So all these different applications we're working with, obviously we have our own error messages, but if you have an application-specific error message, you can go ahead and pass it along here. So you'll see everything that's going on. The nice thing about this too is that our solution actually, when we're in production, once the project's been built, it runs in the background as a Windows service. So it has a very small digital footprint, and it allows us to, because it has such a small digital footprint, it allows us to take advantage of our built-in active-active clustering that allows us to utilize several different servers. So Glenn kind of touched on a little bit. We utilize a technology called in-memory computing, which allows us to greatly expand an internal server's RAM temporarily when we do our data sync, and that allows us to orchestrate and manage the data sync, and it really speeds up the integration time. And so it also, like I said, it allows for built-in active-active clustering that allows us to utilize several different servers, so that when one server goes down, the other server can take up the slack, and your integration keeps moving along. Okay, so Glenn, that's all I was planning on showing today. Is, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, it's a very powerful utility that allows you to quickly integrate multiple different applications together, and in a drag-and-drop code for utility.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Ted. I really appreciate that, and thanks for sharing your screen with us while we continue into the question and answer session here. We will open it up for questions for those in the audience who have a question for us. So I'll give you some time to go ahead and type those into the chat box. Send that to the host and presenter, and we will get to your questions. Now, let's see. I did have a question myself, Ted, and that related to the processes here that you're showing us. Can you show us, like, how would you add if you wanted to add a Salesforce step? Let's say you had both Sugar and Salesforce. You wanted to add a step for Salesforce. How could you add that as well?
Well, that's outstanding. It's an excellent question. So as you can see, I'm going to go through my data flows for a minute. All we need to do is two steps. First, we would have to declare it as a resource. So the nice thing about our solution, too, is every time we're working with a different application, we manage at the top level here called resources. So here is where I have, like, examples, my Dynamics AX resource. So here's where I put my Dynamics AX top level resource. So to answer more directly, here's where I would add, it looks like I have SharePoint already added here. But the real nice thing about this, so the first thing is you have to declare it as a resource, and you can kind of see how we point to resources in the case of SharePoint. Obviously, we work with both online and on-premise SharePoint solutions. So here, I've declared, just put it where the root site is and put my username and password. I have access to that. So the next step after that was I would go into my, let's see, luckily we have a pre-built connector for our SharePoint, but like we talked about, Glenn, it's not a requirement to integrate with any other application, but we do have a pre-built connector for SharePoint. So I would take that and I would just go ahead and add it there. Let's say I wanted it to go after here, and I would go ahead and configure it accordingly. So I can look at my resources, I can use my lists, my libraries. skip ahead a little bit here. Let me go back into settings. So here is where I would actually declare my different resources. So for that particular instance of SharePoint, I have several. So the nice thing about this is that we manage it at this level. So if a username or password changes, I don't have to go to every one of these instances. I just change it up in the resources, and it propagates throughout every instance in the environment.
Great. So it just kind of drag and drop those icons in there and start configuring away with the logical answers to the questions. It looks pretty straightforward. So now we've got a question here. What sorts of services do you offer for training and support?
That's an excellent question. We offer a variety of different ways to work with us and to work with XPI. So when you engage with us, you can either purchase the tool outright and do all the work yourself, or we can do it for you. What most customers like to do is they like to go ahead and purchase the product, go through the training. So we have a training class that's both on-premise here in lovely Laguna Hills, California, and in our to be done remotely. And then we can even come to your location as well, depending on the circumstances. I believe it's 4 days in total. The first 3 days are XPI, and I believe the 4th day is specific to something you may be building in your environment. So what a lot of customers like to do is they like to purchase the product, go through the training, but then engage with us on the first project. So if they have a multiple different data syncs, like this kind of stuff, for best practices and things like that, a lot of them like to engage with us, and so we can help them with their first project, and we can walk through their trained developers, so they kind of have the information. Okay, that's kind of the best way to do it, and they do the other ones from there.
Next, do you have a choice of back-end databases that you work with?
Yeah, we can work with just about any database. You can do, we work with the DB2, I believe that's the IBM one. We have a lot of SQL and a lot of Oracle customers, obviously. That's probably the top two, but there's a variety of different
okay.
ODBC-related databases we work with.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's see, do you see any other questions there coming in, Ted? I don't see any more on my end here.
I don't see any more.
Okay, great. Well, hey, thank you very much for the demonstration today, Ted, and thanks to each of you for joining us. Magic Software Enterprises can be reached on the web at www.magicsoftware.com. If you're calling the U.S. office, we are at 949-250-1718. And if you push for extension 259, you reach Angela, who can set up a follow-up discussion or appointment for you. We'll be happy to get into the details of your particular situation and help you to improve the customer experiences for your customers by integrating Dynamics AX and your CRM system. Thanks again for joining us.